Good morning, children. Welcome back to our maths class. Let us continue with the chapter Speed Math. Today our topic is average of speeds and average speed. We know how to find the average of some numbers, but here we are using different method. To find average of speeds, we use the formula average of speeds is equal to total distance travelled by total time taken. Now let's do some questions based on this equation. Question: a vehicle did the first 120 kilometers of a trip at an average speed of 30 km per hour and next 120 kilometers at 20 km per hour. What is the average speed of the entire trip? According to the question, there are two cases. A vehicle did first 120 km of a trip at an average speed of 30 km. So then we take it as case 1. Distance travelled is 120 km and average speed is equal to 30 km. When distance and speed is given, we can find the time taken. Time taken is equal to distance by speed. I represent distance by D and speed by S. Okay. Now let us substitute the value of distance and speed. Distance is 120 km and speed is 30 km per hour. Zeros will get cancelled. Then 12 divided by 3, answer is 4 hours. Now coming to case 2. The next 120 km at 20 km per hour. So we write distance travelled is equal to 120 km and average speed is 20 km per hour. When distance and speed is given, we can calculate the time by using the formula distance by speed. Now let us substitute the value of distance and speed. Distance is 120 km and speed is 20 km per hour. Now zeros get cancelled, balance 6 hours. So we get for the case 1, the time taken is 4 hours and for case 2, time taken is 6 hours. Now we can calculate the average speed. Average speed of the entire trip is equal to total distance by total time. That is equal to total distance means distance travelled in case 1 plus distance travelled in case 2. That is 120 km plus 120 km by total time taken. That is 4 hour plus 6 hour. 4 plus 6. That is equal to 120 plus 120 is equal to 240 by 10 km per hour. That is equal to, when we divide 240 by 10, we get 24 km per hour. So the average speed of the entire trip, the total trip is 24 km per hour. Next question. Rahim travelled 350 kilometers in a train and 150 kilometers in a bus. The average speed of the train was 70 km per hour. The bus trip lasted 5 hours. What is the average speed of the entire trip? According to the question, Rahim travelled 350 km in train and 150 km in bus. The average speed of the train is 70 km and bus trip lasted for 5 hours. That means time taken in bus is 5 hours. These are the things that is given in the question. We have to find the average speed of the entire trip. To find the average speed, we have to know the total distance travelled and total time taken. Here, time is not given, but distance and speed is given. When distance and speed is given, we can find time using the formula time taken is equal to distance by speed. By substituting the value, we get 350 km by 70 km per hour. When we divide 350 by 70, we get the answer 5. So time taken is 5 hours. Here, distance traveled and time taken is given. So, we can directly calculate the average speed of the entire trip. Average speed of the entire trip is equal to total distance by total time. Total distance means 350 kilometer plus 150 kilometer. 350 plus 150 kilometer by total time. That is 5 hour plus 5 hour. 5 plus 5. That is equal to 500 divided by 10. When we divide 500 by 10, we get the answer 50. So, average speed of the entire trip is 50 kilometer per hour. Next question. Ratnagiri is 360 kilometers from Pavidamala. Gobiga's family travelled in a car at an average speed of 60 kilometers per hour. They managed only 40 kilometers per hour during the return trip. What is the average speed of the entire trip? Second part of the question. Suppose we take the distance as 180 kilometers in this problem. Does it change the average speed of the entire journey? According to the question, Ratnagiri is 360 kilometers from Pavidamala. So, Ratnagiri to Pavidamala distance travelled is 360 kilometers. Gobiga's family travelled in a car at an average speed of 60 kilometers per hour. Ratnagiri to Pavidamala distance travelled is 360 kilometers at an average speed of 60 kilometers per hour. And they managed only 40 kilometers per hour during the return trip. When they came back to Ratnagiri from Pavidamala, that is from Pavidamala to Ratnagiri, distance travelled is same as 360 kilometers itself. But they travelled only at an average speed of 40 kilometers per hour. We have to find what is the average speed of the entire trip. So, first of all, we will find out the time taken in both the travel. Time taken is equal to distance by speed. That is equal to 360 divided by 60. When we divide, we get 6 hours. So, time taken to travel from Ratnagiri to Pavidamala is 6 hours. Now, we will find the time taken for the return trip. Time taken is equal to distance by speed. When we substitute, we get 360 divided by 40. That is equal to 9 hours. Clear? Now we can find the average speed of the entire trip. Average speed of the entire trip is equal to total distance by total time. We will do it here. That is equal to total distance. That is 360 plus 360. 360 plus 360 by total time. 6 hours plus 9 hours. That is 6 plus 9. That is equal to 720 by 15. When we divide, we get 48 kilometers per hour. So, average speed of the entire trip is 48 kilometers per hour. Now, the second part of the question is, suppose if we take the distance as 180 kilometers, that is, if instead of 360, if we take 180 kilometers, does it change the average speed of the entire trip? So, let us substitute 180 instead of 360 kilometers and see whether there is any change in the average speed. Now, the average speed is 48 kilometers. Now, let's see whether there is any change. See, now we change 360 kilometer to 180 kilometer. From Ratnagiri to Pavidamala 180 kilometer and from Pavidamala to Ratnagiri return is also 180 kilometer. Average speeds remain same. Now let's see, is there any change in the average speed of the entire trip? Okay, so distance is 180 kilometer and average speed is 60 kilometer. When we take the time taken, that is distance by speed, when we substitute the value 180 by 60, that is equal to 3 hours. So, the time taken to travel from Ratnagiri to Pavidamala is equal to 3 hours. Now, we will find the time taken during the return trip. Distance is 180 kilometer and average speed remains same 40 kilometer per hour. So time taken is equal to distance by speed. By substituting the value, we write 180 by 40. That is equal to 4.5 hours. So the time taken to travel from Pavidamala to Ratnagiri is 4.5 hours. Now we will see the average speed of the entire trip. Average speed of the entire trip is equal to total distance by time. Let us substitute the value here. Total distance is equal to 180 plus 180. 180 kilometer plus 180 kilometer divided by total time taken, that is 3 hours plus 4.5 hours. 3 plus 4.5 hours. That is equal to, when we add, we get 360 by 3 plus 4.5 is 7.5. We know how to divide with the decimal point. First we will remove the decimal point. Here there is only one number after the decimal point. So we multiply the numerator and denominator with 10 to remove the decimal point. Okay. When we multiply, the point will jump to the right side. So that is equal to 360 into 10 is 3600 by 7.5 into 10 is 75. That is equal to, when we divide 3600 by 75, we get answer 48 kilometer per hour. So see children, earlier also when the distance was 360 kilometer, it was 48 kilometer per hour, and when it changes to 180 kilometer, the average speed of the entire trip remains same, 48 kilometer per hour itself. So answer is, the average speed does not change for the entire trip. For the entire, even if the distance is changed, average speed remains the same. So we can note down that the average speed would be the same whatever be the total distance. Next question. Babu went to Manandavadi by bus to see his friend. The average speed of the car was 40 km per hour. He came back in a car at an average speed of 60 km per hour. What is the average speed of the entire trip? According to the question, Babu went to Manandavadi by bus to see his friend. The speed of the bus was 40 km per hour. So we write by bus, average speed is 40 km. He came back in a car at an average speed of 60 km per hour. That means he returned by car, and the average speed of the car was 60 km per hour. What is the average speed of the entire trip? See, here we have to find the average speed of the entire trip, but time taken or the distance to the Manandavadi is not given. But in the previous problem, we have seen that whatever be the distance, average speed of the entire trip remains the same. So we can take a kilometer as we wish. Okay. So let the distance to Manandavadi be 120 kilometer. And see children, for easy calculation, when you select a number for distance travel, better you take the multiple of these two numbers. Here I am taking 120 kilometer. 120 is a multiple of both 40 and 60. So it will be easy for the calculation. So I write distance is equal to 120 kilometer. Now we can find the average speed of the entire trip. Before that, we have to calculate the time taken by the bus as well as by the car. We know time taken is equal to distance by speed. When we substitute the value, we get 120 divided by 40. Answer is 3 hours. Okay. Now, by car, time taken is equal to distance by speed. When we substitute, we get 120 divided by 60. That is equal to 2 hours. So, we get the time taken by bus as well as by car. Now, we can calculate the average speed of the entire trip. Average speed of the entire trip is equal to total distance by total time. That is equal to, total distance means 120 kilometer plus 120 kilometers. So I write 120 plus 120, and total time is equal to 3 plus 2 hour. 3 plus 2 hours, that is equal to 120 plus 120, 240 divided by 5, that is equal to, when we divide 240 by 5, we get 48 kilometer per hour. So average speed of the entire trip is 48 kilometer per hour.